Welcome to iDAS video channel. In this video, I will show you the new features and command enhancements in iDAS version 2027.0. One of the most significant new features in iDAS is the integration of TUFLOW engine. What is a TUFLOW? TUFLOW is a suite of advanced 1D, 2D, and 3D computer simulation software for flooding, urban drainage, coastal hydraulics, sediment transport, particle tracking, and water quality. Why we integrated TUFLOW? It's because we want to bring in flood modeling and 1D and 2D connection into Civil 3D and iDAS. What does it mean, 1D and 2D connection? Basically, what you can have is that you let the rain to rain over your area, and then it can flow into your pipe network, and from the pipe network, it can flow outside again on your area. So that's basically 1D and 2D connection. Since TUFLOW offers a lot of tools, we implemented the tools that we believe are the most beneficial for Civil 3D and iDAS users. We plan to implement other features in future. In this case, you can see standard Civil 3D drawing. This is a standard Civil 3D surface. I have a pipe network. If I select the network, this is a standard Civil 3D pipe network. There is a culvert here as well. And there are some parcels that define the properties of the catchments or areas or soil. And this can be used to generate the TUFLOW input files, and then you can run the analysis. Let me open Manage and Analyze or Pipe Manager. I will use the extended ribbon here, and I go to Manage and Analyze, or Compact Ribbon Pipe Manager can be used as well. In the Pipe Manager or Manage and Analyze, I go to Analysis, and there is a new command, TUFLOW Analysis. Let me go there. In TUFLOW Analysis window, you can define your model, and once you run the analysis, it creates all those input files. As you can see, then you can define rainfall areas, material and soils. You can attach some backdrop images or drawings. You can also play with a view what you want to see in a plan area. So there's a lot of options here, what to do. And let me go back to analysis. On the left-hand side, there is a grid where you can define again some properties for soil, 2D boundaries, quadtrees, break lines, and all that. In order to save time, what I did, I ran the ensemble analysis beforehand, but you can also run single rainfall analysis. But in this case, I ran ensemble analysis. Under the ensemble rainfalls, I have a various rainfalls that I imported from ARR, and you can see here which I analyzed. Then I go to results because I want to show you how the results for ensemble analysis look like. And under the swim report, because that's the engine that is used for the pipe networks. So here are the results for the various rainfalls. Then under the TUFLOW report, those are the results for each rainfall. Then under the grid, this is a very useful interface because here you can display the results as a grid. For example, on the right-hand side, you can see which rainfall or annual exceedance probability or duration is used. And you can display either maximum with a high resolution or no high resolution. And you can display the results in plan. And at the bottom corner here, I can see the actual value if I hover the mouse over the plan area. And I can go through various results, as you can see, so it changes. What I can do as well, that if I select multiple depths, I can generate the median values. I did it beforehand, so if I scroll down here, I have a median rainfall name for depth. So again, if I hover the mouse over the area, it gives me the rainfall that produces median for the depth for that specific cell, as you can see. And there's also an option to display median value. So if I'm interested in an actual median value, I can do that as well, as you can see. So this is very practical. And those grids which you see here, you can export them to Civil 3D surface as a surface. I did it beforehand again, so I have a depth surface in the Civil 3D drawing, which I'll show you later on. Then on the right-hand side, if you create an alignment and if you create sample lines, you can display the values for those sample lines. And you can select what you want to display, and you can browse, and this displays the depth, or you can display water surface elevation or velocity. So there's a lot of options that you can display. And you can even select multiple, and it displays multiple values for multiple rainfalls. You can also display the unit flow arrows. If I select I zoom closer, maybe I should select the one which shows a little bit more, so you can display them here as well. Let's go to plots, and for any Kogo point in Civil 3D that you specify that you want to display results for, it's actually this one, you can display again the results, you can display what you want to see in the table, and you can also, for any polar line that you draw, you can again decide what you want to display for that polar line. Under the conduits, these are the results for the pipe network, but you might be interested to find out maximum median rainfall. So for that purpose, you can group the results by object name and by duration. And if I select the pipe P11, I select the flow, and it gives me the results. So it shows me the median value for each duration. And it also gives me the maximum value. At the bottom in a table, I have some statistics. Let me stretch it a bit. I have some statistics where I can see all the results and which rainfalls are contributing to that. Similarly, I can do the same for structures. Let me go there. I will group them by name and by duration. Then, if I scroll down, I want to display the MH 1.2. I want to display total inflow, and again, I have some results here, as well as in a table. I will stretch it a bit so you can see more in a table what I have here. So in a table, I have a water depth above invert, hydraulic head, volume, and all that, and it gives me the results, whether it is a median value or not. So this is very briefly about the results in TUFLOW Analysis window, and let's check the Civil 3D. Let me click cancel. I will close the window, yes. And then I will close iDAS Manage and Analyze, yes. And I want to show you the surface. This surface was created from TUFLOW Analysis window. And it's basically Civil 3D surface where I can define how I want to display the elevations. If I go to Analysis, you see there's an elevation analysis, and then you can display it. And you can also display, let's say, surface for water, and you can display it in a cross sections, you can display it in a profile views. So there's a lot of flexibility here, and it's very powerful. So this is briefly about the TUFLOW integration. For further details about the TUFLOW licensing, follow our website. And now I will move to other new features. Let me start with the copy elevation analysis. In this case, I have 3 platforms, and I want to run elevation analysis that displays cut and fill in plan. So let me do that for the very first surface. So I will select surface and I go to surface properties. Then under the analysis, I will run the elevation analysis. And as a number of ranges, I will use 2. Then I click on the arrow to perform the analysis. I know that my platforms do not have a deeper minimum elevation or deeper cut than 2 meters and do not have a fill higher than 2 meters. But for the fill, I want to change the color to green. Then I click OK. And now I want this elevation analysis to be applied to other surfaces. How can I do that? With iDAS, if I go to compact ribbon, there is a command which says copy elevation analysis. If you prefer extended ribbon, you can go to ribbon land, copy elevation analysis. Then you copy or you select the source surface, and then you can either select other surfaces, or you can use a list and you can select objects or surfaces from the list. Then I click OK, and the elevation analysis is copied to other surfaces. If I go to surface properties, under the analysis, you can see the same analysis definition is displayed here. Let me click OK, and let's move to another exercise, property sets and export to GIS. When you have a pipe network, and if you want to export it to another software, sometimes you need to use a property set in order to display the data in other software. Or let's say if you want to export pipe network to GIS data. For that purpose, we developed a command, because although you can define property sets under the manage, where you can go to define property sets, unfortunately, it is a bit time consuming, not user friendly. To overcome this issue, we developed a command. If you prefer compact ribbon, you can go to iDAS, and then you go to network utilities, and then there is the option manage property sets. If you prefer extended ribbon, you go to iDAS network, manage property sets. When you hit that command, you will get a prompt whether you want to update or manage. First, you need to manage because you want to define the property sets. Let me do that. And then what we can do, we can create a new property set. I will call it pipe because that will be applied to pipes. Then I click OK. And under the part properties, you can choose pipes or structures, but it's easier to somehow group them. How? You can simply grab the header network part and you can drop it into this field, and then it groups the objects. And for the pipes, you can see that we have a part data property, part property, and you will also get extended data. Again, you can grab the source, drop it in here, and then it will be grouped by extended data, part property, and part data. Now, let me show you what are the properties. You see there's a lot of properties. For example, extended data, they come from the pipe manager, also called manage and analyze. Then under the pipe data, part data, you have a properties that you can see in a properties window. And then under the part properties, most of the time we have a geometry, although you can see the geometry here as well. So Autodesk is not very consistent when it comes to where is what, but if you understand where to find it, then it's fine. Then under the pipes, I want the, let's say, start and end XYZ points to be part of the property set. So I will select all three with a shift command, and then I hit this arrow and it applies and assigns it here. I will use the same for start. But I want some analysis results as well. So I go to Devotech, Design Q, Add, and I want design velocity as well. So those are properties that I want to be written in a property set. But I need to specify where I want this property set to be applied to. Again, so here's the list of all the objects available. I can sort it by network, by type, or whatever. I will use by type. And then I have only pipes here. And I want to assign it to all the pipes. So I can select all of them with a shift, and I tick this check mark. And then it is assigned to those objects. I'll do the same for structure. So I go to create, I'll call it structure. Then I hit OK. Then I go back to part properties. These are pipes, so I go to structures. Again, it's grouped already. I can choose the properties I want to use. I go to part data, and I want to use total inflow. Then I edit. I also want to use XYZ, for example. So I go to location here, and I choose XYZ, add. And again, I need to attach it to. I will minimize the pipes. I will select all the structures. I can choose which one I want to use, and then I tick that checkbox. Then I click OK. And what I need to do now, because if I go to properties, let me go there. I open properties window, and if I go to extended data, they are all 0. Why? Because we created property set, we assign it to the pipes, but what we need to do, we need to update those property sets from the pipe properties. How to do that? You use the same command. So let me go to manage parts property sets, but you need to click on update. Then it offers all the property sets that are available in your drawing. Then you click OK. There's another settings here. And once I click OK, then if I select pipe, you can see the properties are available here. And if I click on a structure, again, properties are available here. And now what happens if I export this network to, let's say, GIS, Shapefile or GeoPackage file, because that's another iDAS command, and it's a very nice command. So if you want to use compact ribbon, you can go to Network Utilities, and there's a command export to GIS. If you prefer extended ribbon, you can go to iDAS Network, and then you click on Network to GIS. You can select the parts that you want to export. You can select all of them, hit Enter. Then you need to define which property sets you want to write to structures. So I will use the structures. That's what was defined in the previous step. For the pipes, I go to pipes, OK. Then I need to specify the file, and it can be either Shapefile or GeoPackage file. So I go to Browse, and on the desktop, I will select Structure, I will call it STR, and I can choose the file tab, which can be Shapefile or GeoPackage file. Then I click Save, I want GeoPackage, and I will do the same for pipes, Browse, I will call it pipe, and again, it's a GeoPackage file. Then there's an option to add property set definition name as prefix. I don't want to do it for now. Then I click OK. I go to QGIS, which is a software for GIS applications. And then I drag and drop those two files. So let me drag pipes, add layer, then structure, add layer. And for interest sake, I can go to structure attribute table. And here you can see all the values are written in. And I can do the same for pipes. I can go to structure, open attribute table, and again, all the properties are here. So this was another command, very nice command, exporting the pipe networks to GIS, either shapefile or GeoPackage file. Let me go back to drawing. There's another useful command. If I select pipe, for example, if I go to pipe properties, some companies, they like to use description in a tables or labels. But the problem is sometimes the description is not exactly what they want to see in the description. For example, some companies, instead of DN for specific network types, they use outer diameter OD, so they need to replace it. Or let's say other clients, they don't want to display reinforced concrete RRJ, they only want to display RRJ. So how to fix that? I will select RCRRJ and I will copy it to clipboard. Then I click cancel. And I will use a command to replace that string in the description. So if you are using compact ribbon, you can go to iDAS, then the network utilities. There's an option to find and replace descriptions. Then you can do it for both pipes and structures, or only for pipes or only for structures. I will do it only for pipes, then I hit enter. Now it offers me to select specific pipes or all of them. I will select all of them, but you see there are some options such as root and so on. Text to replace, I will say, I'll paste it from clipboard, enter, and text to be used, I want to replace it with RRJ. It remembers the last settings that I used, so you can see what is there. Then I hit enter, it gives me the report, what was changed. And if I go back to pipe, and if I go to pipe description or pipe properties to display pipe description, you can see that it was replaced with the RRJ. Very powerful command for some clients, very important. And you can do it for pipes as well as for structures. Then there is another command where we can import data from ARR. That will be used in a TUFLOW analysis, which is also new in iDAS because we can now use TUFLOW engine inside Civil 3D if you have iDAS. But for that purpose, you need to import data. So let me go to Compact Ribbon Storm, and there's an Import ARR Rainfalls. If you prefer Extended Ribbon, you can go to Network, and there's an option to import ARR Rainfalls. It shows you the list of all the time series you have currently in your drawing, because sometimes you don't want to create any duplicates, so that's quite nice to see. And then let me go to temporal patterns. And when you download temporal patterns, you can browse. And then I will do it here. And then those temporal patterns were downloaded from the internet. And then I will also upload the Bureau of Meteorology depth. So I go there, depth, OK. And now it offers me the available annual exceedance probabilities as well as storm durations. So I can say, let's say 50, 20, and 10. And storm duration, let's say 15, 30, 60, 90, for example. And so now I have another options here, which we suggest to be used for the import. Then I click OK. It gives me the message, what was created, and I click OK. And if I go to iDAS Pipe Manager or Manage and Analyze, you will see that those rainfalls will be imported into the iDAS library, and they can be used further for the analysis, especially for the ensemble analysis. Let me go to Library, Curves, and if I scroll down here, you will see many curves that were created for the rainfalls. For the rainfall, you have an option to smoother the curve, or you probably rather display the stepped graph, which looks like a pattern. Let me close the Manage and Analyze. I can just close it. Yes, and I'll go to another exercise, Import 12D. We now allow importing 12D network into Civil 3D. If you want to use a compact ribbon, you go to ribbon iDAS, import network, and then there's the option import 12D network. If you prefer extended ribbon, you go to iDAS network, import 12D network. Then you can browse for a file. I have a very simple file here. Let me go to desktop, network 12D, open. You can specify the network name, you can specify the part list that you want to use, and you can specify the reference surface. I don't have any reference surface. If there were any problems, they will be listed here. Let me go next. And you can either have a file with the water strings or drainage strings, or you can have a file with the superstrings. Both files are supported. And here you have some options to import or export mappings, especially if you have a very similar networks, the mapping is complex, then you want to export it and import it. In this case, it is very simple because I can just select all of them. They are MH1050. So I can right click here. I can choose, let's say, Humes or Hines, high spec. Let's say I will use a manhole, center hole, and that's a 1050. Very first one, that's fine. Apply. And of course, you can use a filtering here as we use it before, because these grids are all the same. You can bring it back if you wish to. So there's a lot of options here for those grids, and you can use a filters grouping. And for the pubs, again, so it's a UPVC SN16 148. Again, let me come in here. Let me go to UPVC or PVCU SN16 150, apply. Now it's applied. I can click next, but of course there are no superstrings, so I can just click OK, zoom extends, and the network is created in Civil 3D. Let's look at some enhancements to existing commands. First, let me show you the improvements in a grade pipes command. If you use compact ribbon, go to ribbon iDAS, grade pipes, or if you prefer the extended ribbon, go to edit network, and then there is a command grade branch. Then I'll select the start structure and end structure, and let's go through the settings. You can specify the drop, whether you want to match it at the invert, the drop over structure, the value that you want to define, or the pipe that you want to take the slope from. But here is a change, because some clients, they requested that, let's say they use all the time the ratio and they don't want to put one in whatever all the time. Or other clients say they use always percentage, so we provide an option here. So currently the default value is ratio, but you can switch between the ratio or percentage, and it will remember your default settings. So currently it says ratio -40, which means -1 in 40. So let's say, okay, I want to use 1 in 50. I use negative value when I go down, when I'm decreasing the elevation value. And if I repeat that command, let me show you, and I will get to that point. Again, it remembers that I used ratio. What if I want to use a percentage? Then you click on percent and you can specify the percent. So I will use a -2. And then I will repeat that command again. And if I get to that point, it will remember that I used percentage. So I can use again -3, for example, and then it does it. So this is an improvement based on your preference. You can choose percentage or ratio, and it will remember for your Civil 3D session. Let me show you some improvements for the swap parts command. For example, I look here. For example, I want those two paths to be the same type as this one. How can I do that? If I go to swap part command, I can go to either compact ribbon, iDAS, and that is a swap conduit. Or if you prefer using extended ribbon, you can go to network edit, and there's a swap parts. You can choose whether you want to swap structures or pipes. I want to swap pipes. And then there is the option to select. Yes, I will select those two. But then there is an option to select the family that I want to use. And I can select this one. And it will automatically find out the one that I want to use. And then I can just click OK. And then it will swap. But there's also another improvement here, that for the match location, you have an option to use as per pipe settings. But I will use at the invert, OK, and then it increases the size. As you can see, the diameter is 600 now, and it's a 75D. So this is a very nice enhancement. Then let's go to create profiles from pipes for the entire network. If you go to Compact Ribbon iDAS, there's a command under the pipes, and then there is a command profiles from pipes. If you prefer extended ribbon, you go to ribbon layout, and then you can create profile from pipes. The dialog looks completely different, but it's a way more powerful. If I select profile views, I can select all of them at once. I don't need to do it one by one. I can select the network which I want to use. I can specify whether I want to create the profiles from center to center or inside walls or outside walls. Then under this grid, you see there's a grouping as a profile view. So for each profile view, it shows me which profiles I may create. But what I can do in this case, I will move it back, and I want it by pipe location, because for all the profile views, I want to create, let's say, invert profile, and I want to create, let's say, trench profile. Let me select invert profiles. I can select all of them with a shift, and I can select create. There's an option create or update. It will automatically create a name. If you wish to, you can change the name. And then I can change the style. So I want to use pipe or channel, and that's an invert. Let's do the trench. So I scroll down, and I'm at the trench. I will select all of them. I will deselect one. Let me do it again. I will not select all of them. I will make a mistake just to show you how to fix that. It also shows you how many pipes there are in that profile and all that. Very powerful. Then I will say I want to create them. As soon as you do that, because you're creating a trench, these settings becomes available. What I will do, I'll sort it by pipe name, and I can specify the trench depth as per different pipe diameter. So let me stretch it a bit so you can see better. And I can specify, let's say, 0.15 for 450 and 0.2, 0.2 for 750. And for trapezoidal channel, I can use, let's say, 150 again, 0.15, like that. And then I want to also define the style. So I will change the style, and this is a pipe channel trench. Then I click OK. And all of them are created, as you can see. And it's very quick, but I missed this one. So how can I update it? Again, it's a very simple. I will repeat that command again. So I go to create from pipes, but I will select only this profile view. And then I have an option whether I want to update or create. And I want to create trench one. So I will say create. This one offers automatically update because it was already created. So if there is a change, I can simply just update, but I'll show you that. And then the style should be pipe channel invert. And actually this is a trench, so it should be trench. So let me select trench. Trench, and then I click OK, and it creates trench. Now, what if there is a change, a vertical change? So let me do it here. I don't like, for example, the way it looks here. And of course, this should go a little bit up like that. And this one probably should go a little bit up. Now I want to do the update, but maybe there were updates at other places as well. Or maybe let's do it. Let's do it. I will quickly adjust the pipe here. So how to update it? It's very simple now, because you simply go to that command again from pipes. Then you select all the profile views if you wish to. And it offers here, if the profile already exists, if you created it before, it will offer you update. And if you want to update, then you leave it as it is. If you prefer to do no operation, you just set it to none. Otherwise, just click OK, and you don't need to do anything else. And if you come in here, you see the profiles are updated, and it looks much better. So it's a very powerful command now, and we believe that it improves your workflows a lot. Let's go to next drawing, draw parts in profile view. We did some improvements if you want to draw parts in profile view. If you want to use a compact ribbon, you can go to ribbon home, and then under the profiles, there's a command clean up. If you prefer extended ribbon, you go to ribbon layout, and then there is a command draw parts. Then I select profile view. This is still the same as it was before. I don't need to remove any networks. I want to select two networks, the stormwater and sewer. Okay. And then there's an enhancement that you can set the crossing label. This is only available in Civil 3D 2026 in New Year. The older Civil 3D doesn't offer that. It's not available in an API. And if I click OK, as you can see, the labels are there. And you can see that the stormwater and sewer network, let's move more to the right-hand side, stormwater. So it gives all the details, maybe sewer is here. So this is quite a nice improvement that you can add labels to multiple profile views at once to all those crossing services. Let's go to next exercise under the profile view. In this case, I have a design longitudinal section or profile view, and I do have a plan production profile views. Unfortunately, those plan production profile views, they were created in such a way that they don't have a nice rounded chainage value. And if you have, let's say, 60 of them, which can easily happen if you have a 60 kilometers long alignment, then it is very manual process to fix them. As you can see, these values are not nicely rounded. I would prefer from 0 to 1000, 1000 to 2000, and so on. With iDAS, we improved the command that allows to set the profile view length. If you prefer using compact ribbon, you go to ribbon iDAS, and then you go to profiles, and there's an option to set length. If you prefer extended ribbon, you go to layout, and there's a command set length. This command offers you to select alignment that you want to work with, and that alignment has profile views. In fact, there are 4 profile views for this alignment, but this view will only show you the profile views that do have the length defined manually. What it means, let me cancel and let me go to this settings. I go to profile view properties, and under the station, as soon as you have a user-defined range or specified range, then it appears in that grid. If it is automatic, it doesn't, because you probably don't want to modify your design longitudinal section profile view. You want to modify only those, and this is the filter that is used in that command. So let me use it again, set length, and then I can specify the first profile view start station. I want to start at 0, but profile view length should be 1000. And let me run it now. It will recalculate, change it, and let me go to profile view properties. You can see from 0 to 1000, then profile view properties from 1000 to 2000, and this one, profile view properties from 2000 to the end. Again, very nice feature. If you have many profile views during your plan production and something got wrong, then you can easily fix that problem. Then let's go to remove duplicates command. We improved this command quite a lot, as you will see. So if you want to remove duplicates in your network, you can go to iDAS, and then under the network utilities, there's a command, remove duplicates. If you prefer using extended ribbon, you go to iDAS network edit, and then there's a command, duplicates. And what it does here, it offers you all the duplicates for structures and all the duplicates for parts, if there are any. And not only that, as you can see, there's a default grouping set, so you can group it per network type and per duplicate groups, because if I move it to the side, you can select each duplicate group and see where the duplicates are, or parts, or here. So you can preview it. And not only that, it's even a little bit smarter, because there's an option to select duplicate structures. Now, how does it know which one is duplicate if there are 2 structures on top of each other? It looks at the number of connected pipes, and it will select the structure that has less connections. So because that looks like that's a duplicate object. Of course, there might be an issue that they might have the same amount of pipes connected. You can do the same for pipes, duplicate pipes. Again, based on some settings, let's say connected structures, it will select the one that it thinks it shouldn't be part of this drawing. Of course, you can clear selection, you can clear pipe selection, and what you can do as well, you can set the tolerance. Of course, the tolerance is now set quite big, but you can decide on a value that you want to use for duplicate test. And now it's very easy. You just click OK. And once you do that, it removes all those duplicate structures, no longer duplicates here. But what might happen that some pipes are disconnected, you can always use a command, the connect pipes command, and then you can select the network and it will show you if there is a problem. There's a problem here that there is no structure. So this structure needs to be created. Otherwise, there is no problem. Let's go to catchment delineation. And we did some nice improvements to the catchment delineation command. Let me show you. If I want to define the catchments or watersheds, I go to either compact ribbon iDAS. Under the surfaces, there is a command catchment delineation. If you prefer extended ribbon, you can go to iDAS land catchment delineation. Then under the surface, I will specify the surface. For the boundary, I can define the boundary. And I don't want to discharge polar lines. The cell size 1 meter, that's sufficient for now. I don't want to do the catchments nor the longest flow path. But what I want to do, I want to create watershed flow path. This is a layer. There's a nice improvement because you can erase any objects that are in that layer automatically before it creates new objects. And you will see how practical it is. And the new improvement as well is a weed by flow path order. So if I don't weed at all, then it looks like this. Let me show you. This is very busy. And you can zoom in closer. You can, of course, see where the inlet structures should be, but it is a little bit difficult to work with it. So let's go back to that command and let's change the weed order to 1, which means the cell that doesn't have any other contributing cell will not display flow path. Let's click OK. I didn't specify the boundary, so it might be busy. So let me run that command again, and you see how practical this button is. I don't need to delete objects beforehand. I just run the command and the deletion will be automatically applied for me. Areas to include analysis, this one. OK, I just run it. Done. And you see it's much easier to work with this file. And for some surfaces, you might use even the higher order to get a cleaner drawing. It depends on the surface type, but as you can see, it looks much better and I can work with it. Of course, if you weed too much, you might get incorrect result or result that is not very useful. Let me freeze the layer with the watershed flow path and let's run this command again because I want to show you another enhancement. I will specify the boundary, I will specify the discharge areas because I want to run the catchment delineation and longest catchment flow path. This is also a new feature and it's very useful. And I want to use no weeding for the longest flow path because I want, if there is a cell right at the top, I want that cell to be used. And I specified everything I needed to, then I click OK. And I will, for the layer with catchment, because I want to display them, here they are. So you can see purple are the catchment areas. And then I have a longest flow path for each catchment, for each inlet structure. So this is a very nice enhancement. Will save a lot of time, again, when you do the catchment delineation and longest flow path. This is not the hydraulically longest flow path. It is by a distance. So it means that in some scenarios, you might need to create your own flow path. Now let's go to another enhancement. If you go to iDAS compact ribbon, there's an option to import network from Shapefile. If you prefer extended ribbon, you can go to iDAS network and there's an option to import from Shapefile. And there's a new enhancement where you can clip a region polyline. What it means that you can browse for your shape files, but sometimes the shape files are quite big and you don't want to import everything. You only want to import a specific area. So if you draw the polyline beforehand, you can then select it from your drawing and it will only import the parts that fit inside that region. Again, you don't need to pre-process your shape files beforehand in a GIS system. You can simply do some minor adjustments here in this dialog.